Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Chase. So today will probably be a little bit more of a laid-back video, a little bit more thought process. I know you guys, some of you guys like that stuff. We'll go through the levels. We'll look at a few different, we'll look at some things, right? How the fib lines up. We'll look at a couple indicators. Obviously, price action based as usual, but I'm just going to explore some scenarios. Of course, we'll talk trade ideas. I don't really have anything specific for the discussion section, but we'll see what pops up. Usually something does. As usual, big shout out to Prime XBT for sponsoring these videos. Checks out my link at the bottom. You can get a deposit bonus. Give them a shot. As usual, nothing constitutes as financial advice. Please seek out your own financial advisor, etc. Okay. So, first thing we can see here is that we sort of have a break of this downtrend. We came down, single wick here, reclaimed, and then we get a break right here, right? So basically had support, flips resistance. If we were to come back down, this is the level I want to see hold, right around here. Okay, that would be our level of interest. On the low end, if there was some type of a major sell-off, right? Because there is another level above that, which is this level right here. We can see that there was a lot of consolidation in this area, right? And it led to this up move. And then we took out these stops, which we continue to close below. But in reality, it's sort of this resistance level. Previous support flipped into resistance, right? Let's see. This was basically your last support right here before the breakdown. We can go down to lower time frames here and make sure that's right. Yeah, so you had support. Go even lower just to make sure. Yeah, so basically, now we're seeing the confluence, right? We're seeing support, 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 support. Okay, and then we slice right through it, right? Knife through butter. And that's where you're getting your rejection from at the moment. I think if we see higher that, these stops start to come into play, and you can sort of form a new range in here, right? It seems like that's what we've been doing lately. I had drawn out on Bitcoin the other day this scenario, and we didn't really we did go up, right? We did run this high again, but we didn't really get the consolidation up here that I wanted. I wanted some consolidation in here before we broke back down, then revisit this, then go rip these highs, confluent with the 200 daily moving average right here. This is the 200 daily MA, okay? But yeah, we didn't really get this yet. And I'm also, if we want to say what's leading, I think we know that Bitcoin is leading all of crypto for the most part. We can see Bitcoin had reclaim, way before ETH did. This was sort of ETH's down move, right? And, we've only recently taken that high. And Bitcoin's down move in the same spot was right here. And we've been, challenging these highs all along. So Bitcoin's been leading. And what is Bitcoin following? One could say it's following the S&P 500. That's the usual correlation. And if we were to, say something like that, then I think we could see S&P. It looks like it wants to retest, this area back down here. You could see basically daily closes right in there. So it looks like this would want to retest this, and then I'd be interested in some form of deviation above the previous, support, resistance there, and then reject, right? And then we got all these highs here. We got high here. We got a high here. We got a high here. We have all these highs, so probably want to, run them in some significant way. So come down, push up, and run all these highs in some significant way, which would be confluent with, if we look at Bitcoin, we could see Bitcoin potentially going to blue box, which is my area of interest to buy right now. I think you see a lot of consolidation in here, and I think you see some lows built up throughout here, right? We have lows, 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 and then we have this resistance right here that flipped to support, okay? So we have resistance, flip to support. Let's bold this up just so we can get a good view on it. Resistance, 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 and you get this little tap right here on the flip to support. So basically anything below here is untested. If we were to come down here, I'd be interested right around probably, it could be, I want to say, Bitcoin's been, front running a bit, for me at least, and for my trades. I haven't gotten a lot of trades off lately. I haven't been losing at all. I just haven't been getting fills. I could really, I could go through them, but I don't. Hold on 1 second here. I don't think it really means much. It probably just means that I'm out of sync, which is the issue, rather than, So if it was to come back down to here, I think this is probably a good area. I had bids here for the CPI data overnight, thinking that we may get a push into here, but instead all we got was this little low right here, sticking to the trend line. So we've yet to have a major breakdown to take out all these lows. If we did, correlating with S&P, I could see this move into here. I doubt you get a full-on test of the area because, like I said, BTC's been pretty aggressive on the levels lately, in my opinion. You have not been getting the most clean retests when you're looking for, especially when you're coming off a potential local bottom. I wouldn't say this is the long-term bottom, in my opinion, but I also think making long-term claims is somewhat stupid, because we have no idea what's to come. Could be World War III, could be a new corona strain, could be whatever you want to say that adjusts what the Federal Reserve is going to do. So I think long-term predictions are sort of stupid. What I do believe is that if we happen to come back down and flip this area back into resistance, right? So say we break down, and we come back and this flips into support. Flips into resistance. I think we're in trouble at that point, and we're going lower. So that's definitely something to watch. But in the short term, as I said, I'm eyeing this level right here, maybe even just right to around 42K or 41.8, and then I think from there is when we get that stronger move up to really test. Either you could just test this area right here, and consolidate in here and then break down. I think that's possible. If you do get that breakdown, you watch for the deviation, straight out of the SZ handbook, right? You watch for that deviation, and on the break back down below and acceptance below here, you might even get something where you flip it back to resistance. That's where you play for down, and you probably play down all the way back to this level right here, in which I would be closing, because you can't just say, I'm expecting this level to break. You can, but when you're taking a trade, you need to, at least for me, I like to close my shorts at support. I like to close my longs at resistance. It's really that simple. So the other option is, we break into here and we continue the uptrend fairly strongly, in which we, rip some liquidity in here and get to about almost 50, which is a nice round number. We have confluence of 50K, plus we have a previous resistance level, right? You could see it all over the place. Resistance, flips to support briefly, deviation, resistance, resistance, flips to support briefly, breaks down. Okay, so you'd have 50K, you'd have previous resistance, and you'd have liquidity. And now we could bring out some indicators as well. That indicators are my last line of defense, right? But let's bring out the daily 200 moving average. And we can see that the daily 200, and even though we're on the 4 hour, but this is a daily 200 moving average, okay? We can see that it's going to basically bring itself right to here if we were to move forward, maybe even a little higher, around 50K. Okay, so we're going to have confluence of so many potential things at that point, that this level, in my opinion, is going to be definitely a place where I'm looking for shorts. If not, maybe a little bit spot sell. We will see. Okay, let's just let's erase everything and go back to the HTF and see if I feel like I missed anything. So we have obvious, support resistance here. and we're tagging that. Let's see, are we seeing anything on RSI that's, you know, making any type of major statements here? You know, that's a pretty big bear div, but you know, it's 4 hour, so relative to the higher time frames, it's also 17 bars, which is past what our RSI is using 14 bars. So we start to lose a little bit of confluence there once we get past the 14 bar mark. If we move up to 6 hour, we can see that, you know, we are getting a good bear div here. So yeah, I do think it's possible to pull back here, and our pullback, in my opinion, would be towards this consolidation level right here. If Bitcoin's being very aggressive, then I think 42 to 41.7 is the area, and if it wants to pull some shenanigans, I mean, there probably are stops under here, but I don't really like that trade much. I think that this consolidation should hold if we are to be continued bullish and move upwards here. So this would be the level I'd be watching, 41,800, right around here. Okay. Below that, we talked about this. We have, you know, this down move, resistance right here, and it basically held as resistance the whole time. Throughout here, we've been moving fairly quickly whenever we get into this zone. We could see, you know, complete wick in here, complete breakdown, complete move through, right? What's the word for it? I'm having a brain fart. Well, for inefficiency, void, etc., whatever you want to say. But basically, you know, price has been ripping through this area pretty quickly. So, as I said, I wouldn't want to see it really go too deep into here. I think, if anything, we test the blue, and then we push back up, and it's time to, you know, test out these levels up here, you know, this area. So that's what I'm watching for at the moment. Yeah, I think that's good for Bitcoin. I think that's pretty clear on the upside, targeted 50. If we were to break down even more, we can just zoom out. Obviously, you're going to have the support that's been support all along that's yet to be tested, which is, you know, 29K-ish. It even goes a little bit lower in some parts, 29, 28, the high 28s. So this would obviously be a support level, and breaking down below there, you know, you might have something here, but honestly, I doubt it. I think such a major move would bring us all the way back towards the old previous all-time highs. You know, people ask me why I use the Coinbase chart, just because, you know, I like to be able to see this data, and you can see the confluence. Okay, so if we were to come back down in a major way, old all-time highs pretty much need to hold, in my opinion. I'd have to be willing to, you know, I'd probably put a decently good trade on, you know, 19 to 20K area holding, if not 20K getting front run. I don't see how this just breaks down throughout the, you know, I don't see how price would go right through here. That doesn't make sense to me. I think that you get a bounce from here, basically no matter what. A bounce to at least exit your position short term, whatever you need to do. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. We can rip through some alts real quick. I think ETH sort of looks mostly similar. Have AVAX up here because it's been one of the top performers at the moment. Just let me delete this for now. And what you could see here is you just had a very clear range on AVAX, right? Range. It breaks into the range. It goes straight to the other side. Very clear range. Confluence of downtrend. You know, being that this is crypto, what I could imagine here is something like this. I could imagine, okay, breakout of the downtrend. Everyone's absolutely euphoric. All the AVAX junkies, and I like AVAX, and nothing against it, nothing against the community. I spent a lot of time, you know, in the AVAX ecosystem and whatnot. But I know that you know, people would be going crazy over this break. And what you could see is like a previous major levels, right? We had the high, supports here, major breakdown here. So anywhere sort of in this area right here, I think would be a level to watch. And then you get a bit of a fake out here. You clear this inefficiency right here. We are pretty zoomed out right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. So you could see price inefficiency right here. So you could even get a good breakout, right? You could get a breakout long. Let's see. So now this is if Bitcoin is still looking bullish, bullish consolidation and whatnot, right? If you get this, large thought process here. Pretend you got a Bitcoin breakdown into the blue box. Okay, you get a trying to drag here. You get a Bitcoin breakdown into 41.8. Okay, and it's going to bounce, right? And you get AVAX, and you notice AVAX. Okay, on the Bitcoin breakdown, all AVAX does is go to here, and it quickly reclaims. But Bitcoin looks like bullish consolidation. Here's what's going to happen. AVAX is going to reclaim this trend line real quick, and it's going to shoot right to about 106. Okay, 105, 104 to 106. So that'll be a long idea for AVAX right there, right off the trend line, or simply right on the reclaim after BTC goes and tags down here. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's something to watch for. Okay, and once we get to about this point, here's where people are going to get sad. This is sort of the breakout, the retracement, and probably all the way back down, in my opinion. I am not seeing new highs at the moment for Bitcoin, Ethereum, AVAX, or alts, etc. But as I said, long-term shit, in my opinion, is pretty stupid. So just take it with a grain of salt. So that's AVAX. Let's look at Atom real quick. Atom, I think we've built up stops for a while now. Man, I hate doing that. I always have the thing pre-selected, and I try to move the chart, and it draws. Stops built up, stops built up, stops built up. I'm just looking for that swing. Okay, I'm continuing to look for it. I'm continuing to wait for it. FTM, you had a downtrend into a major breakout here. In my opinion, anything around 1.4 to 1.3 is going to be an area of interest for me. I'm not in the process, or I'm not in the mind state where I want to be trading this choppy price action here. Not necessary to me. I will just continue to focus on Bitcoin and watch for the major move off this. Luna, I don't really have much to say. Looks like this trend line's been like forever or something. Yeah, something like that. Trend. So I don't know what happens. If it breaks trend, maybe it's a deviation. Maybe you run these stops, reclaim, and it goes. But I don't think that's any time in the near future anyway, so it's really mostly whatever. Syscoin, we talked about this one on Twitter. I said falling wedge. I actually drew everything out. I said, okay, this is going to be a 1-tap, 2-tap, 3-tap, 4-tap, and on the 4th tap, it's going to break out to 86 cents. It went perfectly. From here, could be potential deviation. Not really sure. This isn't really an area where I have a lot of interest. So I'll wait on this one, and I'll post to Twitter when I see something. Hopefully, some people caught that move on either the breakout or on this consolidation on support off of this falling wedge. It was a pretty clean, easy play, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's about it. I'm content with what we talked about, price action wise and coin wise. As far as commentary goes, or discussion goes, I guess the only overwhelming thing I saw this week, or overwhelmingly talked about, so to say, not overwhelming to me, I could give a shit, but the whole sort of like Web3 inclusion and whatnot, and let me say right off the bat, I believe that all people of all colors and all sexual preference should be able to live free and happily and whatnot. It doesn't concern me, right? If there's two guys kissing in front of me, it doesn't bother me at all. I could care less. I want everyone to be able to enjoy their lives and be happy. I might not be interested in that type of thing, but it doesn't mean I need to hate on those people. But when it comes to, talking about Web3, and I'm seeing all these, spaces and people arguing and whatnot, and it's just what I always thought it would be. The world has never been more divided, and when the world is so divided, you're going to have a very hard time building something as large as the internet and involving the community with it. To me, you need a central driving force like a. I should stop charting. It'll be distracting. To me, you need a central driving force like a Google or an Apple or something. There has to be ground rules for the environment that people work in. Otherwise, you're going to get what you're currently getting on CT, which is a bunch of people upset and lashing out at each other, you name it. So, I mean, while I can agree that there's going to be potentially money to be made when it comes to that section, and, there might be some type of bubble-esque something when the tokens start to come and when the, I don't know. I really don't even know what the whole Web3 thing is. But I'm sure there's going to be some money to be made somewhere, because let's be honest. We know that anything that involves crypto, the people who come to crypto come for the money. Maybe a very small percent come to quote unquote change the world or something of that nature. But I think we know that basically everybody's here for the money. They stick around for the money. When they want to tell you about something, what they want to tell you about. They want to tell you about their bags. When they love artwork, they want you to buy their bags. We know what crypto is, and people call me a pessimist, but I don't give a fuck. I've been here for 5-6 years now, and I've seen 100 cycles of all different fads and trends and all this bullshit. And it all turns out to be the same. It's all just how much money can I get in my pocket before it dies. And I'm not saying Web3 is going to be the same thing, but I am saying that I find a hard time. Like I said, I think there will be money to be made somewhere, but I do think that you're going to have a very difficult time gathering enough like-minded people to pull it off. Whereas when you look at like a Google or an Apple or something, they have extremely high-class talent who have to meet their deadlines. They work in an environment where the rules are already preset for them. You can't probably speak out against them or you get fired. When there's a conductor to the train's probably going to get to its location faster than a train that's built with all different parts and different opinions, and I just don't see how that really is going to work out. So as much as I'd like for something like that to be successful and for these companies to not steal my privacy or whatever it is and give me ads and whatnot. I mean, I don't know. I use some pretty good ad blockers, so I don't really get any targeted ads. But as much as I'd like to not participate in that stuff and not feed those guys, Web2 does work pretty well at the moment. I don't really have any complaints. And seeing all these people just get up in an uproar really just makes me think that it's not going to be feasible anytime soon. Maybe once COVID, wraps up, if it ever does, and people start to calm down and maybe the world becomes a little less divided. I don't even know if that's a thing. It might just be, all downhill from here. It's something I talked about this week with social media and detachment and whatnot. And I think the thing is that, people have just gone so overboard, and everyone has such strong opinions about things that it's hard to escape any of it if you participate even whatsoever. I don't even read, I haven't had a TV in years. I don't read my Twitter much at all. I have notifications on for a couple close friends and a couple people who I think are really good traders. But outside of that, when I read the feed, all this is from me reading the feed for maybe 20 minutes this week or an hour this week and hearing about all these people bitching about different things. it's just too much, man. So I think the end goal is detachment, and the only way to truly detach is to have enough money to detach. That's always been my plan. But until then, hey, I'm around, and me and the boys and whoever watches these YouTubes, we chopping it up. Yeah, so let me know what you think. As usual, like and retweet the tweet. That's very helpful to me. I appreciate you all tuning in. Hopefully, we covered Bitcoin and some alts, my relative thought process as to how price can move from here. And, as usual, I do wish the best for, the whole crypto atmosphere. I always have, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to cloud my vision or become some type of, moon boy, fanboy, and ignore the blatant problems that are right in front of us and that have been here for quite some time now. Okay, so that's about it. Thanks, guys, and I'll catch you next week.